Hello and welcome back to Age 40 Years. My name is Greg, and today we are going to be doing a very interesting tasting. I am going to be delving into a finished product. Now, for those of you who've been here before, I live in South Carolina, and we don't typically get new releases that quickly. So when Tina down at Clyde's called me and said that they had Penelope Havana in, I jumped at the opportunity to come try it. I I will admit I was not a huge fan of Penelope Rio. It was just not the taste profile that I liked. It was a little too amberana, which I don't particularly care for. But what this is something a little bit different. Now, I do expect this to be a very sweet bourbon, and I really expect it to be a little rummy. So what is it? So Penelope Havana. First off, coolest label out there right now. Penelope's already got awesome labels. This is my second tasting of a Penelope product. I also had it in a blind. So in very short order, I'm becoming a Penelope guy, which isn't a bad thing. I do like Penelope. But coolest label. Love that Havana look of that like glowing neon sign. That's pretty cool. But what is Penelope Havana? So this is batch one of this. This is of their Cooper series. I've got it up here. It's a 74%. The mash bill is 74% corn, 16% wheat, 7% rye, and 3% malted barley. Now it doesn't say it on the bottle. What the bottle says is Penelope Cooper series takes our straight whiskeys on a world tour, pairing Penelope with unique casks from around the world. Inspired by the neon lights, warm humid nights, and mambo beats, Havana finishes our straight bourbon whiskey and rum barrels, renowned for their molasses, confection, and tropical sweetness. Let the flavors transport you to the charm of old Havana. Havana being, of course, Havana, Cuba. Now, for me, something that I find very interesting about this is it is a double finished or a double cask finish bourbon. So it has supposedly a 4-year whiskey. Then it is finished for 12 months in a rum barrel, and then an additional month after that in a rum cask rum barrel. I honestly don't know what the difference is. And then after that, it's finished for another month in a maple syrup barrel. So of course, rum and maple syrup is going to make for a pretty likely sweet product. Maybe more of your dessert flavor, something you would drink, after dinner. But I'm pretty excited to try it. I like the idea of a maple finish rather than the amberana. So I'm gonna give it a go, and we're gonna see what we think. Just a reminder, if you do like what we're doing here, trying to grow a channel, this is new for me. There's not a whole lot of people watching, and that's okay. But I'm enjoying this a lot. What I set out to do when I started this not too long ago is to create a place for me to be creative. I feel like I'm doing that, and I'm learning on the editing side, I'm very limited so far, but I'm excited to continue to do this. So if you got comments, if there's things that I can do better, things that maybe some tips that you have, keep them coming my way. I'd really like to grow the following a little bit. So I'd ask you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and certainly give me some feedback. So let's go ahead and start this tasting with the nose. Again, this is the old Penelope Havana, a recent release here in early February in 2020. I think in early February, maybe January release, but nonetheless, 2025 release. This bottle is $80. So MSRP is about $79.99. That is what I paid. The good people at Clyde's Liquor take great care of me, and they're not caught up in the marking it up game. I did also buy, at the same time I bought this one, I bought the Heaven Hill Grain to Glass Weeded. For whatever reason, I haven't been able to find that here in South Carolina, but they did have one in the back that they pulled out for me. I really like the rye, but I'm excited to try that weeded, so maybe a future video once we get done with this Penelope. So, is this straight? Yeah, looks like it. Still figuring that out. Anyway, let's give it a nose. Wow, okay. The first thing I get is the rum, interestingly. However, that quickly kind of relaxes to the maple syrup. I mean, but that being said, it's not as sweet on the nose as I expected it to be. I expected this to smell like um, like I'm nosing like a true, just straight up uh, maple syrup right out of the tree. I don't necessarily get that. I still get the bourbon in it, which is a good thing. I'd like to nose. I'd like it to be presented as a bourbon that's finished, exactly what it is, a bourbon that's unfinished. So early indications are that it is just that. So let's see how it tastes. Mm. Oh man. Okay. Uh, that is really good. That is immediate maple syrup. But again, it's a really good mouthfeel. It's like uh, I don't know how to describe it best, but it reminds me of eating pancakes when the maple syrup gets on a different flavor Like I eat my pancakes, my eggs, my bacon all on the same plate, and I'll put maple syrup on top. Well, it starts jiving with the other things. So like it'll get on my eggs, and so it's like you get egg, but you get a little bit of maple syrup too. For me, that's what this is. This is like my golden retriever just busted in here, so you might see her. But to me, this is like somebody spilled a little bit of maple syrup onto my bourbon, and that's a great idea. I'm really here for that. Um, there is some oakiness in it. But that is smooth as can be. It really like coats the mouth completely, which just I think that's what reminds me of the maple syrup of it, is that it's like that little bit of stickiness, not the stickiness on your hands, but like that tackiness. I mean, really is it's just that it coats the mouth, and gosh, it just consistent maple syrup, brown sugar type of flavor in there. It's really good. And then the finish, it's not a long finish by any means, but it really gets, I say this a lot, when I say something's caramely, this is the definition of caramely. I don't know that I've had something finished like that where it's so caramel rich on the back end. There's no doubt about it. This is a sweet bottle. This is a sweet drink. And when I say sweet, I don't mean awesome like I used to say when I was a kid. This is sweet, desserty, but not as much as I thought. Like the Rio to me is way more, the Rio to me is just way more upfront and like in your face about this is what I am and you're gonna taste it. This is a little bit more subtle to me. It's sweet, a little bit oaky, definitely maple syrup, definitely some brown sugar. Quite frankly, this is one of the better finished bourbons. At least certainly I like finished bourbons of a lot of variety. But this is one of the better collaborations maybe of two things working together, maple syrup and rum. You don't really get the rum flavor, but what I think is interesting is this would be like a really nice sticky summer sitting outside drink. I think you'd catch a lot of flies with this, a lot of fruit flies. But probably be pretty gross. You have to cover it. But in South Carolina, I seem to always catch fruit flies. I can't tell you how many I've killed with my bourbon sitting outside at night. In fact, I had a contractor here looking at screening in our back porch, and he's like, "Well, why do you want to screen it in? You got a really nice back porch." And I told him, "Well, the bugs are annoying and they fly in my bourbon." And he goes, "Ah, I get it." So necessity breeds action, and so I'm working on getting that screened in. But man, this is a fruit fly's dream. There's no doubt about it. They would love to be in this thing, and I am delightfully surprised at how much I enjoy this. This is not going to be like your have a second pour. This is not going to be like I'm going to have a couple of these a night, or I'm going to start with this and then move something else. This is a finisher. This is like I think this would be interesting to put up against. I really like, I have historically It's, I guess, divisive now, but I have historically liked Midwinter Night's Dram. I think it's a great finished product. I really like the sherry cask finished New Riff. That's a great whiskey. And man, obviously this would, I don't know how you would blind this because you'd immediately know what you were drinking of those versus this. It'd be hard for me to find something to compare it against. But I tell you what, it's just as good as those, if not better. The more recent, I have the batch 11, I don't have batch 12 Midwinter Night's Dram. I drink this all day over that. And at nearly half the price, I don't know why you wouldn't want to go a different direction. So with that, great, maple syrupy, sweet. I hope you please drink responsibly, and cheers.